Chair Khan, thank you for being with us today. My understanding is you're supportive of EU digital economy policies like the Digital Markets Act. You've used taxpayer dollars to support and assist in the implementation of European law against American companies by sending staff to Brussels. And as you may know, European policy compels the forced sharing of intellectual property and proprietary data that only makes U.S. companies weaker and advantages Chinese firms. Have you considered how the European laws that you support provide an advantage to Chinese competitors and undermine U.S. competitiveness in European markets?
Congressman, I'm focused on enforcement of the U.S. antitrust and consumer protection laws, and we hear a lot of concern about how allowing too much consolidation, allowing unchecked monopoly power is what could risk America falling behind, since entrepreneurship and innovation is what's allowed us to get ahead from having strong free markets, and so that's what the antitrust laws are about.
But do you agree that you sent staff to Brussels to assist with the implementation of the Digital Markets Act?
So I was fortunate to inherit a really vibrant international office at the FTC that was launched during the Bush administration. There are also various agreements that would enter during the Bush administration that allow for and invite cross-border cooperation. The business community has actually been a big vociferous supporter of greater harmonization across the globe. And so that's work that's been long preceding me, and it's been continuing since I joined.
Do you agree with Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo when the DMA was being crafted? She said that we have serious concerns that these proposals will disproportionately impact U.S.-based tech firms and their ability to adequately serve EU customers and uphold security and privacy standards?
Look, each jurisdiction has the prerogative of passing its own laws. I'm focused on the U.S. antitrust laws. I know there's been significant discussion in Congress about the outsized power of some of the tech giants and how that can result in censorship, in undermining people's economic liberties, and how that can undermine entrepreneurship. And so it'll be interesting to see where in the U.S. we end up with that as well.
Okay, it's my understanding, though, that late last year your team was working on a federal register notice that would help assess the ways in which Europe's digital agenda was helping Chinese companies. This includes potential disclosure of source code and IP, forced transfer of data, and increasing security vulnerabilities that could be exploited by Chinese actors. Why has this effort not moved forward?
I'm not familiar with that Federal Register notice, but we're happy to take a look and get back to you.
So your team was not working on a Federal Register notice?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay. But would you agree that there are serious national security concerns associated with that?
With what specifically?
Well, the idea that we're going to empower Chinese companies and requiring the forced disclosure of source code and IP of American companies.
I'd want to take a closer look at the specifics before answering, but happy to take a question for the record on that.
Okay. Are you aware that China is actively pursuing digital negotiations with some of our key trading partners, such as the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement with New Zealand, Singapore, South Korea, and Chile?
I assume that's true.
You're not familiar with that?
We're not deep in kind of on the front lines of the trade negotiations. We defer to USTR on that.
Okay. But in some areas, you seem to be speaking out on labor, environmental issues where you're pushing for higher standards internationally, but not in this area. You'd be allowing China to set the standards in this digital world. Do you see an inconsistency with that?
The FTC is not weighing in on Chinese trade agreements. There may be other parts of the administration.
No, I'm referring to setting standards, international standards. You've been involved setting standards on environmental issues and labor issues, but not on digital ones?
We have not been involved in setting environmental standards. I've been very clear that ESG claims and commitments actually are not relevant to antitrust analysis. They can't rescue a legal deal. So maybe there's a misunderstanding
Okay.
about some of
Well,
the
thank you. I will
work.
submit for the record on the questions. Thank
great.
you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.